Theodore Sturgeon, whose real name was Edward Hamilton Waldo, was an American science fiction author and lover of the cosmos and the out there. He was a prolific writer who wrote a lot of short stories for various publications and about half a dozen novels. He is considered one of the major figures in the golden age of science fiction. Sturgeon's writing was characterized by its literary high quality and focus on exploring complex human emotions and relationships within speculative and, of course, futuristic settings. Yet one of his main memorable constructions was the saying he coined called Sturgeon's Law, which is also expressed sometimes as Sturgeon's Revelation. It's a quite hilarious and cynical observation named after him as a response to criticisms about the quality of science fiction literature during his lifetime, which concluded in 1985. Which, surely during some late-night conversation with a fellow sci-fi lover, they co-concluded that 90% of sci-fi is crap. And then they applied that 90% to everything. Hence, Sturgeon's Law states 90% of everything is crap. Well, this is of course not fully true, as 90% of nature and the natural world is not crap. When you apply this to what is made by man, especially modern culture and especially modern popular culture, it really starts to ring true. In other words, Sturgeon was pointing out that a large proportion of any given category or field, whether it be books, movies, music, or any other form of creative or intellectual endeavor, not to mention mass-marketed commercial assembly line manufactured output, is lacking in value or of low quality. We would also expand this further into any area not made by the divine, but made by mankind at its current level of consciousness, which includes politics and religion. That's right, we just said 90% of religion is crap because religion is made by man, and we'll get more into that in future insights. Everything is a big word, and Sturgeon justified it by saying something quite philosophical, which is that on this planet there are 8 billion souls and there are therefore 8 billion universes. I happen to be at the center of my universe-I, and all things are orbiting around me because that is my point of view. But not to be egotistical about it, the same applies to you, for that is also your point of view, without end. And with the contents of each universe, 90% of that is crap. And every human soul, 90% of them could be said to be crap. Now, why would that be? This seems basically unfair. That's a rather profound imbalance. Well, it's explained this way pretty much. We're conditioned not to believe in our own uniqueness. We are conditioned not to accept our own excellence. There are really and truly a few people who can accept a compliment and who know their excellence, who can concede to the world that they are very good at something. Sometimes the thing that they are very good at is being exactly what they are. Whenever you see people making a posture that they are something other than what they really are, you're seeing a manifestation of the crap. But the person who is absolutely and wholly and totally what they really are and presents themselves as such, that isn't what they own, that isn't where they've been to school, that isn't who their family comes from, it isn't their race, it isn't their culture, it's simply what they know, what they are through and through. They recognize that they are unique, a great expert of all time on being exactly what they are because they never happened before and they are never going to be exactly the same configuration again. Therefore, that person is in the top 10%, the elite of quality. What he is referring to, we call in our work individualization. Sturgeon's Law is often invoked to remind people not to be discouraged by the abundance of mediocre or poor quality work in any field. Instead, it encourages individuals to keep searching for and appreciating the value in rare exceptional contributions within that larger pool, which happen through the individualization of the individual.